Hi, I'm John with Professional Fire Equipment. Today I'd like to talk to you about the proper use of a fire extinguisher. We're not only going to show you how a fire extinguisher works, we're going to show you how it works on a fire and in what order to react in the event of a fire. The purpose of this video is not to make anybody a super firefighter. It's only to give you the knowledge and the understanding of how fire extinguishers work so that you know how to use them and how to react in the event of a fire. Like, for example, do you know that there's an acronym you need to use or need to think of in the event of a fire? It's called RACE. RACE stands for R, rescue anybody, any patient, anybody that's in harm's way of the fire. You can replace literally everything in any building, anywhere, but you can't replace a human life. After that, you want to activate a fire alarm, if there's one available. So, if you have a fire, you activate the fire alarm. If there's no fire alarm, you might need to shout out and say, hey, there's a fire. After that, we want to call the fire department. Well, you want to call the fire department because if you get the fire out, that's no problem. It gives them the opportunity to practice. But if you don't get the fire out, they're not coming. So if you call the fire department, even though you've activated the fire alarm, they're coming. And once they get there, if you don't have the fire out, they're going to be ready quicker. Also, if you do get the fire out, they may help you determine what caused the fire to prevent it from happening again. After that, we want you to extinguish the fire. Okay, if you do have a fire, you're going to want to know what kind of an enemy you're fighting. So what they've done is they've separated these into different fires. First, they start out with an A. A stands for common combustibles, wood, paper, trash, cotton, anything that will burn and leave an ash. B stands for gas, grease, or oil, anything that will be a liquid and burn. C is very important because C generally isn't the actual fire. It means that the fire extinguisher you're using will not conduct electricity back to ground through you. There's also a D class fire, which is a combustible metal. Now, what they wanted us to do is to remember it as A, B, C, and D. Well, for me, that's the first four letters of the alphabet. So they come up with a new way, and that is to go with a triangle, a square, a circle, and a star. Well, for me, I learned about those in grammar school too. So what they come up with now is they come up with a picture of a trash can and a campfire. That tells you it's an A class. They come up with a gas can with a little fire beside it. That tells you it's a combustible liquid. They come up with a plug-in, like on a drop cord, and that tells you it's electric. D is a little trickier. It's a star with a little gear inside it. You won't ever have to worry about those because they're very non-typical. So a lot of fire departments actually don't even have the proper equipment to put that type of fire out. What we're going to concentrate on today is your ABC, your typical fire extinguisher that you'll have in most every home and business. Next, we need to know what our enemy's weaknesses are. Fires consist of three parts. They call it a triangle. The three parts are oxygen, fuel, and heat. If you take away any one of those components, your fire will go out. Next, we're going to talk about how does your fire extinguisher work against these three components. Well, most dry chemicals design is to displace the oxygen with non-flammable particles. And that's what will put the fire out there. They do have fire extinguishers that will overwhelm them with a non-flammable gas and displace the oxygen. They do have some that will foam with whatever fuel is burning, and also plain old water. Now, there are places you don't want to use plain old water, just like any other fire extinguisher. But we're going to stick with the ABC fire extinguisher because that's going to be common in most businesses and homes. This is like any other common fire extinguisher that you will find. It has a carrying handle, a discharge handle, a pull pin, a pressure gauge, and a discharge hose. National Fire Prevention Association has upgraded their standards. They decided what we want to do in the United States is to make the information I'm giving here work in Alaska, in Hawaii, in Maine, in Florida. No matter where you go, your fire extinguisher should work the same. So a fire extinguisher should be a fire extinguisher, should be a fire extinguisher, should be a fire extinguisher. So what they did was they updated our labels, and they put these in pictograph. Because we have people that come into our country that don't read English, so we put a pictograph on it so that they can see in pictures exactly how to use the fire extinguisher. Also, they put the A, B, and C in not only A, B, C, in the triangle, the square, and the circle, but in a trash can with a little fire beside it, in a gas can with a little fire beside it. The C still has the circle around it, but now they have a little outlet, little drop cord, to show you that it is electrically charged fire. The pull pin's purpose is to keep anybody from accidentally using the fire extinguisher. The seal wire on it is a tamper indicator, letting you know that nobody has messed with this fire extinguisher. The only thing you really need to do is ever so often look at the gauge. The gauge has a yellow pin in a green background. That is the operating zone. If it falls into either side, red on each side, one is recharged, one is overcharged, it needs to be taken care of. And this is how you use a fire extinguisher. You hold it upright, twist, pull the pin out, pull your hose out, point at the base of the flame, and squeeze the top handle against the bottom handle.